when you have that creative gene, you want to just set something aside that popped into your head and come back to it later. But then it keeps popping. So you have to deal with it to get rid of it. It's just difficult. I try and schedule my time so that I have so many hours a day that I'm writing on books, so many segments of time during the day that I'm working on music or listening to music. And then I also find time to do painting. If I could play the piano with one hand, paint with the other, and, talk into a recorder to record the next chapter in a book, I would be perfectly content. But robot, maybe I should get a robot to help me out. There you go. Hi, I'm L.A. Lockhart. I am an author, and I've recently had a book published, The Garden Tenders Cats. It's a murder mystery novel with lots of twists and turns, and it got a very good review from Kirkus Reviews. I'm also an actress, a singer, a former dancer, and an artist. You can find me at the website https://gardentenders.com. And you're welcome to read through that website. I can post the music on the video, the short little teaser trailer video. And you can also find me or contact me at L.A. Lockhart, LALOCKEHART @gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram, L.A. Lockhart, and I occasionally publish things to do with my book there. So you're welcome to visit and look me up on Instagram as well. So, and I would like to let you know that you're watching this video and this interview hosted by Kurt at Two Geeks Talking. And we welcome any comments that you may make or any questions you may have. You can contact me or Kurt. And I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you. And I forgot that. And you're and you're watching this on Two Geeks Talking. Thank you.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. Of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. I am very pleased to have this amazingly talented, multi-talented person on the show here today. She's an author, a singer, a painter, a beautiful painter, by the way, a dancer in one lifetime or a next, an actress, and I met her briefly at a film meet way back about a couple of weeks ago. I got to talk with her at great detail about a number of things, and it's with great pleasure that I have this amazing author on the show here today. She's, like I said, multi-talented, and I can't wait to dive into her amazing book, The Garden Tenders Cats. We're joined by the ever-talented L.A. Lockhart. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Kurt. How are you?
I have coffee, so that's a great start.
Take a sip. Take a sip.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Our brief conversation at that film meet was just a joy by myself. I had to have you on the show because you've done so much in your amazing life here. But for those that don't know anything about yourself as a creative person, tell us who you are and what you're bringing to Two Geeks Talking today.
I will be happy to do that. First of all, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be 80 years old, an octogenarian, in about 2 months. And then, well, thank you. And I'm in the process of planning my own 80th birthday party, aside from what my family wants to do. And it's going to be musical, and there's going to be some karaoke, and I just had a musical washboard delivered that I intend to play at certain selections. But I've always been creative. I've written poems from the time I was a child. I've dabbled in drawing and painting on and off, and especially in my teen years. And I hate talking about myself because it sounds like I want to blow my own horn. And there's no real horn to blow. It's just, I hope that a message or legacy that I can leave behind when I go to the great beyond is one that no matter how disabled, how old, how encumbered you think you may be, you have to keep your dream alive that you had as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. Never, ever, ever let go of that dream. Eventually, you will find the time and hopefully the inclination to make that dream come true. And when I wrote the book, The Garden Tender's Cats. It was a work in progress for the first 3 chapters. And then it sat on my computer for almost 2 years. And I went to delete it, and a voice said to me, finish the book. And I thought I was hearing things. We had had a home invasion. I had security cameras inside and outside my house. I was alone. And I thought, oh, this can't be. So I highlighted the 3 chapters again, got about an inch from the delete button, and the same voice in a very, very firm tone said to me, I said, finish the book. And my dog was barking. I was stunned because I thought, okay, I'm not hearing things. And I just raised my hands and I said, I've had writer's block for 2 years with this. Whatever you want me to say, please put the words in my brain and I will transfer them to my fingers on the keyboard. And in probably 2.5, 3 weeks, I had the core of the book done, which was a miracle in itself because it had been sitting already for 2 years. And then it was going through and fine tuning certain parts, adding certain parts, doing research to find the accuracy that I needed to make things work. And one of the things in particular was an ancient book, and I'm referring to it as an ancient book. It was written probably in 1350, and it's called the Sarajevo Haggadah. And it's the basically the tenets used to teach Judaism, the Passover and Seder procedures in Judaism. And it's handwritten, it was written in Spain. And the book had been missing for many, many, many years. And in the process of writing my book, I discovered that book. And the tale that book entails within my book takes a very exciting turn. And I know that there's issues right now with certain religions and political issues. Put those aside. You have to look at things really with an open mind. You have to be able to understand there are conflicts, there are disagreements, opinions do vary, but just look at the whole world in general as like the astronauts did. They saw it as this big ball, beautiful blue, white, green, brown ball in space. And knowing the conflicts that existed, there was something very, very peaceful and very calming and very serene about them being at the level of the moon and then looking back on our planet. So use that not just when reading my book, but use it in your daily life when you get up in the morning, say, I'm not going to be involved. I'm not going to be upset by what I'm hearing. I have no control over what happens in Washington or Ottawa or Paris or Moscow. We have to just let those leaders play out their scenes. And hopefully it will benefit everyone, but we have to wait and see. I'm ranting, but the book is basically was something that I had to write. And before I retired from a position I had at a treatment center, everyone says, "What are you going to do when you retire, Anne?" And I said, "Oh, I think I'm going to write trashy romance novels and under a pseudonym." And I ended up getting an art kit for my retirement present because they knew I also liked to paint. But it took a few years before I finally got back to the keyboard and stories started coming. And I write poetry. I've probably got close to 1,000 poems that I've written that I hope to have published at some point. And I've been writing poetry since I was a child. And I still have a few of those floating around, believe it or not. And but it's just whatever you feel that you didn't accomplish so far in your lifespan, you still have time. And even if you're disabled, if you can't write, if you can't hold a pen because of a stroke or an accident or whatever, you can talk. If you can't talk, find someone to help you interpret, because you have these dreams that are so deeply embedded. And because of going to school, having a marriage, having a family, your life takes a variety of turns. But when you retire, that is your time. That is your time to devote to what you want to do. And you can even count it as having a second career, but it's your own avocation in life.
I am curious about the characters in the book and things along that line here as well too, because I love a good mystery. I think that sets apart, like I grew up reading the annotated Sherlock Holmes. I read Ray Bradbury and things like that, so I can enjoy a good mystery as the next person. And the mystery genre, I think, is kind of misunderstood, but what is it about the mystery genre that you gravitated towards for your first book that people who don't follow the mystery genre misunderstand?
I find, and I found throughout my life, that even when I would go to movies, many, many years ago, the movies that I was most intrigued by and most enjoyed were movies that really contributed to having the viewer think and having the viewer assume an ending, which may or may not prove correct in the end. But everybody has a little bit of detective in them, I think, at some point. And I certainly did and do and still do. And as the words came to me and the scenes opened up and the characters opened up, and I literally transported myself into this little village called Belaford, which is in southwestern Virginia in the US. It's hilly, it's country, it's just a non-police town. People just go there day to day. It's very rural, very backwoodsy kind of thing. But there's, oh, something happening in this little town. Rumors flow, but they're never proven. And all of a sudden, things, when Miriam Wheatley, the main character, moves to this little village and gets a hotel room, she wants to buy property there. And in her search for her perfect home and real estate purchase, she realizes that, things are not quite what they seem, and maybe this village is holding little secrets that I may or may not want to know. But she's so involved in the real estate purchase. She's made a deposit on a beautiful estate, and it's too late to back out, lady. You're in it for the long haul, and you're going to have to deal with whatever comes your way. And surprisingly enough, a lot comes her way that she was not expecting. There are nice people in this village, and there are some not so nice people in this village. And she has to make that decision who to trust.
I am curious about Miriam herself as your protagonist here. What made her the right protagonist for this world, and not just the right narrator?
She was married to an FBI agent, and he was killed in the line of duty. They had a family, and her family now, she's an empty nester, has been for several years. But when her husband was killed, she became very financially secure because of property investment stock and then just a whole financial situation. And her husband had extreme trust in a few of the people that he worked with the FBI. And he was involved in a case, surprisingly enough, in the same area where Miriam found this beautiful estate. But he never mentioned it to her. And he left her wondering, why was he here? What was he working on? But as the story evolves, so does the details of the case he was working on. And one of his partners ends up, quote unquote, looking after Miriam and making sure she stays safe because there had been threats on her life because of subjects and perpetrators that her husband had dealt with. And some had been released from jail, some were promising that they were going to get even with him. And if it meant harm for her, then so be it. So it's something that a struggle. And she has to make a decision whether to stay or go, whether to purchase the property. But like I said, she'd already made the deposit and has to deal with the fallout of what happens to her as she goes through the process, waiting on the closing, which we know may or may not take place given the events that happen. My own life, in a way, reflects being alone. I've had 3 marriages. I have 3 children and 3 divorces. And then my last husband died before the divorce was final. So I'm technically a widow. But being alone and having to start over, make decisions that you've probably never had to make totally on your own, all of a sudden you find yourself with a new empowerment and a new strength to get you over the hurdles that you need to get over, to get you to a point that you make good decisions. You learn not to act impulsively. You learn to take your time, rationalize your decision making, and hopefully forge ahead and come out on top. And that attitude within me, I tried to transfer to Miriam Wheatley.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that for sure. And that was actually going to be part of my question was because you're building such a strong foundation with the character and with your location, especially with the house, the garden, and these locked spaces, what do you hope the reader would take away from that? And what were you trying to communicate about these spaces before they know the whole mystery?
A couple things. Number one, just what I said. When life hands you a change, a severe change, you have to make a decision if you're going to forge ahead or if you're going to just succumb to what's happened to you and let it just fall on you. And I'm a strong person, so I forged ahead. The second thing that I'd like to make is, as the reader goes through this story, there's all a question or questions, more than one, arise about assets that were connected to the estate that Miriam put the down payment on. And no matter what you think is junk that you may have in your garden shed or your attic or an old chest in the basement or something that your great grandmother, a box of stuff that may have been left behind, go through it, look at it, research it. You don't know what kind of valuable things you may have in your possession, and you don't even realize it. And we hear about that all the time on TV shows and in the news. People find a painting in their attic that belonged to their grandparents. And all of a sudden they look at it, it's dirty, it's dusty, the frame is maybe damaged. They're ready to toss it, but some little voice inside them says, maybe I better check into this. And sure enough, it could be a Rembrandt, it could be anything, any classic painting, and end up being worth hundreds, if not millions of dollars. And they're surprised by that. But you can't always judge value by condition. And you have to research, you have to examine, and do this with your own life, not just with objects.
But as someone that paints as well and composes music, are there any habits you have that you've pulled from these disciplines that you brought into your writing?
At times, chaos. Because I have trouble sleeping at night. I can't shut my brain down completely at night. And I'll sleep for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And I wake up and I've got a melody in my head, or I have lines to a poem, or lines from a new book, or a new topic for a new book. And I've got 6 books right now on the go. 2 are nonfiction, and 4 are additional fiction. And so I'm constantly jumping from one thing to another. And it's very frustrating and almost debilitating at times for me, because I wish I was cloned, because then I could do 3 or 4 things at once, but that's not possible. So I have to really enforce myself to develop a schedule, develop a routine. And it's so hard when you have that creative gene, because you want to just set something aside that popped into your head and come back to it later, but then it keeps popping, so you have to deal with it to get rid of it. It's just difficult. As far as I try and schedule my time so that I have so many hours a day that I'm writing on books, so many hours or minutes or whatever segments of time during the day that I'm working on music or listening to music. And then I also have to find time to do painting. I'm working on another painting now. I did one over the Christmas holidays, and I've started one now, but it's just, if I could play the piano with one hand, paint with the other, and, talk into a recorder to record the next chapter in a book, I would be perfectly content. But, maybe, I don't know, maybe I should get a robot to help me out. There you go. Structure for me is almost, I won't say non-existent, but it's sporadic at best. And I think I'm being honest for most creative people, because we do get easily distracted by new ideas, new thoughts, new words. I'm forever, if I listen to the news and I hear a word that I'm not familiar with, I'll jot it down and then look it up. And because it anytime you are willing to learn, and this is, oh, don't get me started on that. Um, you have to keep learning in your lifetime. And even if you don't do anything with it, you're benefiting yourself in your own knowledge of the world and life itself. Um, but I see so many people, even younger people, that if it wasn't for Canadian blue, I don't drink beer, but blue, which is the Canadian Labatt's blue, and hockey or baseball, they aren't, you know, they wouldn't know anything in world events. And I've even asked younger people in their 20s, well, what do you think about, what's happened globally now? And they go, what? And I'm going, "Well, haven't you heard about so and so? Oh, I don't care about that. And how did the Leafs do, or how did Calgary do? Or it just, there's no vision, there's no goal. There's a tremendous lack of interest in perpetuating and exercising the learning process with them. Once they leave school, they're done learning. And that's wrong, because you have to keep learning. Even, I'm going to be 80, and I love to learn. I love to learn. I love to explore. I love to find new ways. This AI thing has me really discombobulated right now, because I'm not sure if I want to trust it or if I don't want to trust it. I have to research it extensively before I'm willing to use it on any extensive level. But the lack of vision, the lack of goal, the lack of wanting to improve your own status, even to please yourself, I find very disheartening with so many people, and not just retirees, because I know so many people who retire and they think they're done. They can't get up and go to work anymore. And unless they have a little gene inside them that says, maybe I should volunteer, that'll at least get me out the door, they sit in front of the TV or their computer or on their phone, and that's their whole world. And I'm thinking, this isn't right. This isn't what you're supposed to do. This is your opportunity to fulfill the dreams you had when you were young. And you're letting it go to waste. Grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it while you can.
I find it rather interesting, especially in my industry with views and with the creative people I get to interview. The AI side of things is a huge factor for taking away creativity.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense of trying to copy something that it can't actively do because it needs the human interaction in order to do that. And so for yourself as a creative person, using AI, I think, would be more of a detriment to your creativity than it would be for anything else. Now, I'm sure there are some great medical uses for AI, et cetera, but I don't want to dive into this topic too much because that's not what I'm here for. Because I would actively go off on a rant, and I don't want to take up more of your time. And I've seen that affect too many creative people in comics and TV and film. It just kills the urge to be creative.
It does. It truly does. I'm also a member of the Kent Writers Guild. And we have basically decided that we will not accept anything that is AI generated, because it lacks that. Even though you write, and you may read what you write, AI generated items do not have the human element. They do not have the inflection that the speaker intends. It fails to convey the emotional aspect of the written word. And you can pick up on that, especially in poetry. There is a tremendous amount of emotion that can come through in poetry, and even in writing, even an essay or a short story, or diary journal, if an entry into your diary or your journal. There's so much emotion that the reader or the listener can almost feel what is being said, and oftentimes can cry along. This invokes emotions in the reader and in the listener to bring tears to where they can connect with the speaker or the writer on that level that, oh my God, I'm connected with it. I'm trying. This is bringing tears to my eyes. And I'm only reading a book. I'm not even watching a chick flick. And but this is how AI just deadens that. It really is the killer of the emotional aspect of language. And that's what, even when I was writing my book, or still do, I still have it, but I have this read aloud feature on my computer. And I ended up turning that off because it was, in the beginning, I found it somewhat helpful, but it was so monotonal. It had no emotion, it had no feeling. It was stayed on the same key all, and I turned it off. I thought, no, when you ask a question, you usually your voice goes up at the end. What do you mean? You know, or if you're sad, oh, I can't take this anymore. I can't take it. And it failed to do that. It failed to convey what I was trying to get across in the written word. So I just turned it off. And I find AI pretty much the same thing. It deadens everything it touches.
I am curious about writing and your other works that you've done in terms of from a creative perspective. Do you remember your first story or poem that you wrote that sparked your creative journey?
Um, I was going back. I'm sure that, when I was in the first couple grades of school, um, I wasn't keenly aware of things other than trying to make things rhyme. And I had a dog, a Springer Spaniel. Our family had the dog actually, and named Happy. And I think I was about 7, and I wrote, um, "Happy, happy, where are you? I need you to see me through. Come and get me. I mean now. Happy, happy. You're a cow." And I'll never forget that because we were chasing. I wanted to go through the fence. She went through a big fence. It had an opening and she went through. I couldn't get through. And I was so mad at her, but then that was how it came out. And oh my God, and my mother heard me and my mother said, well, what did you say? And I said, oh, that Happy. I said, she makes me so mad. And I said, she's nothing. She's not a dog. She's a cow, because she was black and white, right? And like what is a Holstein that are black and white? I'm not sure. And so my mother said, oh, no, no, no. She's okay. She come on in, whatever. So I went in the house and that was it. But I remember that, surprisingly enough. And I thought, man, crude, but it was a start. And then I had uh, an experience. I met a person when I was 18 who was double my age. And I was so attracted to this very handsome man. And he was as well attracted to me and wanted to continue to see me. But my parents said, no, you need to wait. He's a little too old for you. But I find even now, I miss that connection. So we met on July 18th in 1964, and he returned to his home country in the Middle East and ended up marrying someone there. So I kept in touch with his brother who was in New York and found out he had married. And it just broke my heart, literally in two. And I wrote a poem on the 1-year anniversary of my meeting him, and it's called Once a Day. And once a day, and sometimes more, you knock upon my daydream door, and I say softly, please come in. I'm glad you're here with me again. Then we sit down and have a chat, recalling this, discussing that, until some task that I must do forces me away from you. Yes, once a day and sometimes more, you knock upon my daydream door, and I say softly, please come in. I'm glad you're here with me again. And I'm not sure I say that every day, but there's not a day rarely that goes by without my thoughts going back to him. And then I recite that poem. And unrequited love, I didn't know what you would call it, but I'm sure he's dead now. But I just still feel that connection that what should have been wasn't. But that's a poem that I wrote, and but it serves in many cases, and even in times of grief or loss or death, or someone moves away and you lose touch with them. It covers a lot of bases in life, I think, and I find comfort in that, and I hope other people do too. And that's one of the poems I'd like to have published.
That was beautiful. It was both of those were beautiful in their own way.
You're being very kind.
Well, no, it truly was. I've interviewed poets in the past as well too, and to be able to recite something just so personal and off the top of your head. I mean, I'm expecting a collection of your poems hopefully soon, because I think that would be, whether it's 100 poems or 1,000 or whatever the case may be, I think that would be beneficial for those that would like to live part of your life, at least through their own memories.
Thank you. And they cover many topics. They cover nature, they cover love, they cover loss, they cover heartbreak. They cover joy and happiness and the seasons and the clouds and every topic imaginable. I've probably written poems about, even maple syrup. But there's a process. The trees have to give sap. It takes, goes into a bucket. It goes into the sugar shack. It gets processed. It gets jarred and sold. And then the trees, lose their leaves and then come back next spring and sap is created again. And the whole process, it goes on forever, it seems. I don't know how the trees survive, but they keep doing it. So, but no, I'm a lot of topics. So I'm going to try and put them in, like nature ones, bird ones, animal ones, people ones, emotion. There's a whole category of, or many categories of poems that I should be publishing right now. So I will put you on the list, Kurt. You have a first signed copy guaranteed.
Well, I appreciate that for sure. I was thinking you could pitch the maple syrup poem to maple syrup companies in Canada and maybe get some financial use from that when it comes to, say, a commercial or something along that line.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. So are you looking for a job to be my agent?
I have good
That's a great idea. Well, you're an idea man, I can tell. Yeah.
I am an idea man, and sometimes I do get to execute them as well too. But,
I never thought of that.
I think I
am sure we could work a royalty deal.
Just keep me in your thoughts. How about that?
I will. I definitely will.
You could even do a collection of cooking style poems or things like that. Yes. If you have those, or I think if you group them by category and you release just your mini collection by category, I think that would be an interesting retrospective of what you've created. And like you said, you have a poem for every emotion and every season and everything like
just
that.
Just about, yeah.
So I think that'd be a wonderful collection alongside your beautiful artwork as well too. I think you could do a gallery of sorts, a combination of both your artwork and your poetry. I think that would be interesting.
Oh, that would be, I would be blown away by that. I really would. I just have so many things that I want to accomplish, even turning 80 in a very short time. And it's like, I got to hurry up and get this done. I got to hurry up and do acting. I got to hurry up and do more music. I got to hurry up and finish these books. And I'm running out of time. And, this is when I would like to have another 20 years. But we don't know. I could walk off the curb and get hit by a bus, and that would be it. We just don't know. We have no idea what our end game is going to be, or when it's going to be, or what the score is going to be. I do say I do love warm weather, especially after the winter we've had here. And I wouldn't mind if I, went a little south when I died, so that, I wouldn't be cold all the time. If I end up, on the fringes of Hades, that would keep my feet toasty warm anyway. But winter took a toll on me this year that I've never experienced. When I came to Canada in 1980. I came from Palm Beach County, Florida, and I had married a Canadian, and it was culture shock to come into even southwestern Ontario, known as the Banana Belt. I have yet to see a banana tree growing in anybody's yard, I'll tell you. Um, it was a shock because it never, in Florida, you'd have a cold day with like 50 degrees and you'd bundle up, and if you had a heavy coat, but most people didn't even bother. I know we had frost a few times. I didn't have, they didn't sell scrapers there. I had to use my egg turner, scarred my windshield. But no, it's just a totally different, uh, culture shock, climate shock, whatever you want to call it. And I came from West Palm Beach when it at that time had about 6 million population, to Chatham, Ontario, which had like 40,000. No live theater, a couple bars. And I went, oh, okay. Lots of bands, lots of musicians, but they all, were played in the periphery and toured and went off on places. And I was amazed at all the talent here, even with the musicians. And I ended up joining the Musicians Union. And by the 90s, was president of Local 582 of the AFM, American Federation of Musicians. And that was a thrill because I got to meet famous people that wanted to come to Chatham. And I got to interact with other musicians and other band members, and just learn about all the different new forms of music that were beginning to emerge. And during that time in the 80s, and I had a music production company in Toronto and worked out of Eastern Sound. And that was probably the best time in my life in music, because of all the people that I meet and all the people that I could deal with and encourage and just be creative musically with. And I still look back at that being absolutely one of the best times in my life. And but there again, I had a dream. I wanted to do something. My husband at the time had 2 sons. I had my son from my first marriage when I came to Canada. That was 3 boys. And then all of a sudden I gave birth to 2 girls. So we had 5 kids at home, 21 to almost newborn. And I was not fulfilled. There was something missing. And I was drenched in laundry and diapers and formula and transporting school activity kids to this and kids to that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to do something. So when my youngest was about 2, I said, that's it. Hired a nanny. I'm going to do something with my life. And it worked out for several years. And then my husband and I decided to part company, and I gave it up and ended up taking care of my children. And by that time, his were grown and gone. And but I was still a parent to my 3. And another career change, you give up one and you do what you have to do to make things work. And but then that dream never leaves. So now I'm back, and I'm able to go to karaoke. I'm not booking anything with any bands right now, but I'm hoping, I still have that dream. I'm going to work with an orchestra again, no matter what. And if my voice holds, if my body holds, if my mind holds, I'm not giving that up. And we're going to write books and paint pictures and compose music in between times.
I love seeing people get their dreams or attain most of their dreams, or at least work in the creative field to push themselves in some way, shape, or form. And that's really what this show has been all about. It's just it's a platform. It's a platform for the guests to come on the show. It's not about me whatsoever. It's about whatever you want to talk about when it comes to the entertainment industry. And you've seen and done a lot of it, and I think that's just truly incredible. And to have your story on this show is just really an inspiration, I think, for those that get to watch and listen to this in the future. So I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you, Kurt, for inviting me to be here. And thank you for even getting to know me and allowing me to express myself and what I would like to see other people be inspired by some little detail in my life. I don't care if it's crocheting little hats for newborns, do something that is going to make you stay fulfilled, that is going to make you happy, and that's going to satiate that desire within yourself that there's something unfinished that I need to do. That's the most important thing. And God willing, you will find that and you will pursue it and complete it. And you will find that that is the most rewarding feeling that one can have, is to just be fulfilled that I had this dream, I did it. Nobody can say I didn't try. That's the best thing. Thank you again, Kurt. I so look forward to spending more time with you. And definitely thank you for the advice about the maple sugar poem.
Sure.
I will keep you in touch on that one.
Everyone has one person that inspired them on their path to where they are today. Who was that for you?
My father. Without a doubt, my father. My father was an industrial contractor. He traveled all over the world, or he and his company did, basically. He did too. Building hydroelectric plants, chemical plants, any kind of thing. His company was hired to work on the first atomic nuclear energy plant that was constructed in the United States in Waverly, Ohio. And but the one thing that I so admired, in fact, my father will be dead 41 years tomorrow. I so admired about him was he was a very fair person. In the midst of the 1950s, when segregation was paramount in this, especially the southern states, all over the US, all over the world, probably, my father hired several African American workers as laborers. And because he didn't see color, and we were taught as children, my brothers and I, not to look at a person's skin to evaluate that person. You look at the qualities, the kindness, and the respect and the trustworthiness that person exhibits. That's how you base your opinion on a person. And as a result of him hiring these Black workers, the unions, there was more than one involved with this company, rebelled, and they wanted them all terminated. They didn't care if they were fired, executed, whatever. They just wanted them out. And my father went to a major union meeting, there were several unions being represented. And I was probably about 7 or 8, and I was in bed, and my brothers and I were awakened by this blood-curdling scream that my mother emitted when the Black workers who were able to gather my father's body and bring him home appeared on the front porch. My father had been beaten severely to the point that he was almost dead. At that point, you didn't have 911. You had to wait for the ambulance, and they didn't know how to call anybody. So they brought him home. He was in the hospital for many months. He suffered a brain hemorrhage, and he survived. And he survived and came out actually better than he was before. Far more compassionate, far more, he just seemed to absorb every bit of new information that came at him. But his idea of never restricting what anybody can do was ingrained in me. He always made sure I had music lessons, I had dance lessons, I had vocal, no matter where we moved. And we moved a lot because of his job and his work. And but it was just, no matter, he wanted whatever talent, whatever gift, whatever ability that you might have that you want to pursue, do it, do it, do it, do it. And he would make sure that you did. And for as long as you wanted. And my father was just absolutely, I don't know, a statue in my mind of greatness, and always will be. And even when he became very ill, and he suffered from cancer for about 3 years before he passed, I was compelled to spend as much time with him. So that meant commuting back and forth, Canada, Virginia, Canada, Virginia, Canada, Virginia, oftentimes spending weeks in Virginia with him in the hospital. But I owed that to him because he had given me every opportunity I had ever wanted in my whole entire life to be, do, say, feel whatever I wanted. And as far as the one person, it was my dad. Definitely my dad.
From a professional standpoint, you are a successful author, actress, singer. You've done many things in your life that we haven't even, painter as well. We haven't touched on a lot of stuff, I'm sure, because this is just one of many conversations I hope we'll have in the future as well too.
Me too.
But from a professional standpoint, you are successful. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
I question that some days, to be honest, because I go, WTF, what are you doing? But what were you thinking? But I think generally, for what I have accomplished at this point in my life, there have been failures, there have been successes, there have been setbacks, there have been forge ahead. There have been struggles, there have been victories. But I think everybody can relate to that up and down roller coaster lifetime thing. This is good, this is bad, try again, But I'm sorry, what was the question? I'll have to say at this point, yes, but it's unfinished success, if that's understandable. I still have things I want to do. I still have things I want to accomplish. I still have philanthropic things that I'd like to do and see done, and just so I can help other people become what they want to be. Walk in my father's footsteps, so to speak, to some degree. So I'd have to say, kind of.
That's a very common answer for many people, so that works out well. You're not the first.
Good. I'm not an alien on the
No,
planet.
of course not. None whatsoever. Speaking of failure, though, the reverse of success is failure. How do you deal with your failures?
First, you when you know that something is not going to work, you pull yourself back and you ask yourself, why didn't this work out the way I thought it would? And without criticizing or crucifying yourself or the parties involved, really take a good, unvarnished look at what you did, what you wanted to do, how it didn't work out, and then whatever periphery from other people or just product didn't work. It really broke my heart at times too, when I was in the music business, had the music production company, to tell people, don't call me, I'll call you. But you have to draw that line. You have to make a distinction between what's going to work, what's not going to work. And then if that fails, you have to go back and, like a surgeon, open the wound, re-examine what went wrong. And if there were mistakes on your part or mistakes that you recognize on other people's part or another product's part, take that as a lesson, a learning lesson. Go, wow, I don't need it. Ooh, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to, cause that problem again. What can I do to change that? What can I do to reinforce, put a barrier up to keep that part out of my life? That's, I think, how I've tried to deal with things. And I think it's worked so far. It's tough to know that, hey, I screwed up. I have to admit it. I made a mistake. But that's accountability. That's what you have to do. If you fail because of what you've done, take ownership. Stand up and say, yes, I know I made a mistake. I apologize. That's going to get you to home base quicker than anything. That's going to earn you more respect than anything. But so many people, especially today, pass the buck, pass the buck, pass the buck. Oh, it wasn't me. It went, not me, not me, not me. And that's wrong, because if you have a deficit or a defect that made something happen that proved it wasn't going to work, stand up to it, admit it, pull up your bootstraps and keep on going.
The younger generation is looking at your work and they're becoming inspired to be creative in their own way, whether it's as an artist, an actress, a singer, or an author. Maybe you're inspiring them down one of these amazing creative paths that you're a part of. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
Excellent question. And training, number one, even if you are self-taught, it's still training. Don't be ashamed to admit that you didn't get a degree in whatever. Because most professional, classic example, most professional and successful musicians cannot read a note of music. They all play by ear. So formal education in many cases doesn't mean a whole lot. In other cases, it's required and it means a whole lot. So training and learning is number one. Perseverance to succeed and achieve your goal is number two. And that is paramount. You have to have consistent ambition to pursue what you want to do. Without that, you're not going to make it. Without that, you're not. I don't care if you can't sing a note or you want, and you think you're the world's greatest singer, take vocal lessons, try and improve. If not, take the alternative, start writing music, start writing songs, write poetry, then hand it over to some person who can convert it to a lyric in a song. Work together with them. Find somebody, even if you're not formally trained, find somebody that can help you and accentuate your good qualities, and you can accentuate theirs. Just persevere, and it will work out one way or the other. You'll find the pathway to success, to achieve whatever goal that you've put in your mind that you want to achieve. I hope that answers your question.
No, that was beautiful. I love it. And great points for those to live by, for sure. Last question is this, and I appreciate your time here. It's been a true pleasure speaking
I've
with you.
enjoyed this immensely. Thank you, Kurt.
If your life was a book, what would its title be? And what would its soundtrack be?
The title would be How to Survive Creative Chaos.
Okay.
And the soundtrack would be something that I would compose that years ago, Leonard Bernstein, when he was alive and he was conductor for the New York Symphony Orchestra, he had a session called Spontaneous Music. And the whole entire orchestra, just no music, whatever note you felt like hitting. It was fantastic. Many people, probably half the theater got up and left because they couldn't take the noise because it was so unorganized and unstructured. But it was just, in a way, I listened to it and I thought, oh my God, this is great. This is great. This is me. This is me. Because it was just, no matter what instrument, it was just like, I don't know. It was worse than the worst rap or hip hop or whatever you could think of today. But it was inspiring because what Leonard Bernstein did was he gave every member of that orchestra freedom to hit whatever spontaneous note they felt like hitting. He didn't even have his baton in hand. He just raised his hands and let it go. And it turned out magnificent, in my opinion, but a lot of people didn't agree. And that's, I think, would be my theme song. It would just be spontaneous music to cover the chaos.
But there's beauty in chaos too.
Oh, there is. There is. Well, look at me.
100% agree.
Oh, no.
You don't even need me on
Thank
screen.
you.
I'm just flipping right to you. There you go.
Oh
There's
my gosh,
beauty
you're
personified.
wonderful. You're such a gentleman. Thank you.
I hate to end this interview because we could talk for hours, and you've been a true pleasure speaking with you. For those that want to help support you and support your work, where can they find you? How can they help you in this amazing creative journey that you've inspired many people by?
By all means, I'll give the email address. It's all lowercase, no spaces, LALOCKEHART@gmail.com. And feel free, I may not get back to you right away, depending on my schedule, but I will get back to you. And I do appreciate any comment you may have, whether it's a comment about the book or something I've done, something I've said here today. And I really want to take this opportunity, Kurt, to thank you, because we only met a couple of weeks ago, and I was so impressed with your manner and your approach to requesting interview and just filling me in on what to expect. But you have such a genteel manner about you, and very, very respectful. And I'm very impressed. I'm very happy I've gotten to know you. And I do hope that this is the first of other conversations. And any other people that want to join in at some point in time down the road, Hey, I'm all for it. The more the merrier. Thank you so much again, Kurt. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. I really appreciate you being here. I hate to say it, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. Want to thank you again so much for being on the show. I will definitely have you on in the future for sure here. But for those that want to support Two Geeks Talking, you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com forward slash
By all means. By all means.
forward slash TGT Media. That's where over 1,200 interviews are available, if not more, because I've lost count. The podcast you can find by searching Two Geeks Talking. That's TWO Geeks Talking, wherever you get your podcasts. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.